Well, Steve Herman, I wonder if we can start with what is your understanding of why you were suspended from Twitter?
Well, Twitter has not given me anything definitively. Something just popped up when I tried to tweet saying I was suspended, and later there was another pop-up that said I was permanently suspended. No reason given. You can appeal it supposedly by clicking on a link, but that link is deactivated. Twitter communications and PR departments no longer exist, so can't ask them. Obviously, there's a pattern here with the other reporters who I was tweeting about who had been suspended for tweeting about an account that had been suspended. So we can draw pretty much a line, and we have the Elon Musk's tweet saying that all these reporters were doxing him, which is not true, obviously.
Right, so you've had to apply your journalistic skills to figure out exactly what was happening to you, right? Because no one told you anything. There's no one to speak to anymore because of sort of the purges that have been happening inside Twitter. So just walk us through this. What were you doing on Twitter that wasn't doxing, but which Elon Musk has now labeled as doxing, at least in his view of how you were conducting yourself on Twitter?
Right, like a lot of Twitter users, journalists, and others, I was tweeting about Twitter. I don't make comments. I was just retweeting some of the people who had been suspended in the minutes and hours before I was suspended. I was talking about the source of all this, pointing it back to this Elon Jet account and noting that the account was active on other social media platforms, and that if you tried to link on Twitter to these accounts on the other social media platforms, you would get another warning popping up saying that these links had been deemed to be dangerous.
Right, because his concern, and this is a very billionaire problem, is that people are tracking his private jets whereabouts and what he considers real time. He considers that doxing, and has suggested that this poses a risk to his personal safety and the safety of his family. Even though this sort of stuff is
But even if that was true,
right.
I need to point out, even if that was true, the journalists who were suspended weren't doing that.
Right.
They were not tweeting real-time information about Elon Musk's location.
But even this original account, the Elon Jet account, we have this issue with the Prime Minister's plane here in Canada. People have tweeted and tracked it. He's now shut those down, by the way. Canadian accounts that track the Prime Minister Trudeau's plane have been suspended. That is First Amendment protected information in the United States. And yet here we are, and Musk has described himself as a champion of free speech, right? So how do you square all of this, that he was going to turn Twitter back into a free speech zone, and here he is kicking journalists out of the platform?
Right. As you point out, here in the United States with commercial and civilian aircraft, and even Air Force One, I was a White House correspondent for 4 years. We were tweeting all the time where Air Force was. I was on the plane. I was with the president. We were tweeting where the president was, where he was going. This is all public information. So, number one, he's making false statements about me and the other journalists, that we were not doxing him. And number two, even if a journalist or anybody else wanted to say Elon Musk's plane just landed at San Jose Airport in California, that is public information. Right. And so obviously there's a real concern there.
So big picture, you're with Voice of America. New York Times reporters, Washington Post reporters, freelancers, CNN reporters have all been suspended. A lot of these media organizations now say they're reassessing their relationship with Twitter. The CBC has done that here and really, quite frankly, urged us to stay away from it because it's considered to be a bit of a toxic space. I mean, how should journalists and big journalism organizations confront this or respond to this, or should they?
Well, I think that's for each journalistic organization to take in consideration. Look, Twitter has been an incredibly valuable resource to me personally as a journalist, to my news organization for many, many years. We have 48 language services at VOA. Many of those, perhaps most of those, are on Twitter. Depends what country, what language you're disseminating your information is, as to which social media platform works best in which country. So Twitter is definitely in there at the mix, and probably the dominant gel that's in the mix there in social media dissemination. In my particular case, when Elon Musk took over and we started to observe that there were some possible administrative, technical, and other problems, I set up an account on other social media platforms. One that I'm on is called Mastodon. And when I was suspended from Twitter on Thursday evening, I had 3,100 followers on that platform, which wasn't bad. And last time I checked a little while ago, it was well beyond 20,000. So people are migrating to these other platforms. Are they a replacement for Twitter? Perhaps not. But are they an alternative if Twitter is no longer an option for whatever reason? Perhaps.
So you got the Elon bump on Mastodon because of all of this, but I know your Twitter account, I think you've got like 114,000 followers, right? That's a big amount for a journalist. I mean, if the suspension, the latest I've heard is that it's only going to be 7 days perhaps. I mean, if that's true, you going to hop back on Twitter and go back to business as usual, or does this make you rethink it?
If it's unconditional, yes. If there are conditions placed on our reinstatement that we have to delete certain tweets, no, I will not delete those tweets.
Okay, Steve Herman, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.